Hey, we are live. What is happening, wrestling fans? Wow. Wow.
It's the Two Bros Wrestling Show, Doug.
It is the Two Bros Wrestling Show. What is that? Okay.
And it's two bros.
Yes.
Like,
indeed.
with 2 doses of vaccine in
Yeah,
each of us.
That's why we're fully vaccinated.
1 year into the show and we're actually in the same room together. And we just got through watching AEW.
Yes, we did. Let me grab my notes. Let me grab my phone and grab my notes.
Evolution. Or
Revolution. Evolution would have implied Dave Batista could have been our mystery signee for.
But that is not the case.
That is not the case, but we'll get to that in just a minute. First off, we are just coming off of a long night.
It's a long night.
It is a long night.
So we probably should, get through this before. I'm pretty sure if at midnight comes and we're still doing this, that the Two Bros Wrestling Show explodes. We explode in about 20 minutes.
Actually,
we're going to die.
If I've barbed wired my TV room tonight, and there's C4 everywhere.
So Doug, top to bottom, if you had to, before we get into winners and losers, tell the folks at home. I mean, it was a little bit of everything and was entertaining. I mean, there was nothing that I would say that any reasons why you should avoid this pay-per-view completely.
Absolutely not. I am Dynamite Doug, so I've got to say that all Two Bros wrestling shows where we're talking about AEW, I'm going to have a lot of good things to say, and I don't really have too many bad things to say about AEW's Revolution tonight. I would say definitely, if you can catch this, it's even the bad spots are not bad spots, but what I would call slow spots tonight, and I think there were a few of them. They were still entertaining. They were still fun. So absolutely.
So you 2 thumbs up. Two thumbs up. There are some things, and as we get into match by match here, we'll talk about some of the things that maybe we didn't like, but it's certainly not enough to not recommend the show. And honestly, some of the things I didn't like are more for really the reason of it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go. First match, Doug.
First match. Well, I want to say that I've continued my streak. My streak is unbroken. I again missed the pre-show. And I was actually here in my own house for the pre-show tonight, but still ended up missing it. But that's not another story. Do you have any notes on the pre-show?
Not really, because you missed the pre-show.
I mean, you were here to catch it.
I was here to catch it. I did watch it. I watched it with Liam, so I more watched Liam than watched the match. But we had a fun time.
Okay.
I give that Liam's performance a thumbs up.
Yeah, always. All right, so let's go into the first match. Wait, was it Jericho versus Bucks? That's my first notes.
My first note on that match is a surprising opening.
Okay.
Because, yes, that was we started with what I thought would be one of the matches we maybe have towards the end of the night.
Yeah.
The World Tag Team title match.
Right.
Your champs retain. Young Bucks hold out over Jericho and MJF. What do you got on this one, Doug?
I got sloppy in the middle, but a good finish. Definitely not the tag match from last year's Revolution, but not a bad match. I mean, that's last year's match definitely a 5-star match for me. This year's match, I'm going to give it 3.5. I mean, I think it was a good match through and through. Fun match, and again, I think it would push the story along. We'll see some of the War Council from the Inner Circle later this week to see how that works out for us, though.
I really thought that there was a great Matt Jackson spot. The Destroyer that he did looked fantastic. I did think that this match was enhanced by Tony. And Tony did excellent work all night long, showing disgust.
Tony was definitely on it tonight.
He was feeling it. Agree with you that, we say slow. In my notes, I had a couple of blown spots. It actually was sloppy. There was a few things that they missed, but it definitely picked up at the end. And for an opener, it was very good. I think that as much as anything, the story coming out of this for me is storyline wise, like you mentioned. I made the note here, and this is before they later on announced that they're doing this War Council on Wednesday night. But where do they go now with the MJF Jericho tag team? And I think we're one step closer now to the implosion.
Yeah, I think we definitely are. We're going to see MJF make his move to take over the Inner Circle.
Absolutely, and that's where this needs to go.
Yeah. Want to move on to? Did we go from tag team straight to tag team battle royal?
The tag team battle royal, and Doug, this was more entertaining than your typical battle royal. I wasn't looking forward to this one, if I'm perfectly honest. But this one, a lot of storyline stuff in it. The Nightmare family showed some a bit of an implosion, or at least the QT showing some disloyalty there.
Yeah.
Great show of strength by one of the members of Bear Country.
Yeah, one of the bears.
One of the bears. We had bears and butchers and bunnies.
One angry bunny at ringside, let me tell you.
She was very angry. Evil Uno took, though, one of the worst bumps.
I'm pretty sure, just like QT eliminated himself, Evil Uno eliminated himself, but not in the intentional way that QT did. That was a sloppy I don't know what even happened.
I think it was Marco Stunt was supposed to have like head scissored him out of into the ring post, and instead, the way that Marco's momentum took him, he should have gone just straight out of the ring.
Yeah.
Instead, he went to the side and just ran face first into the post and eliminated himself. It was actually kind of comical.
It was. I'm not sure it was supposed to be, but it definitely was comical.
Christopher Daniels took a really brutal spot.
Pile driver. The Reynolds pile drive him onto Jungle Boy.
Yes, right on top of him. Allowed that to happen. Ray Phoenix, of course, does his crazy dive where he pretty much smashed his hip into the barricade.
Again. I've seen that a couple of times recently with him.
But at the end of the last man standing in this, you're going to see a Ray Phoenix, Pac world title match now with the Bucks, and I think that's where we all wanted it to go.
I think so. And in defeat, Jungle Boy looked great because Jungle Boy was in there. Yeah, at one point I turned to you and I said, "Okay, I want to see a John Silver versus Pac match now with what was going on in there."
Those were the last two men in the ring, and you really couldn't have gone wrong either way. But I think that definitely there's more intrigue with a Death Triangle Young Bucks match at this point.
Absolutely.
So good work by everyone involved. Aside for, you got these multiple person matches, and you're going to have some, too much traffic in there, and it's going to cause some blown spots. So I'm not going to, dock them on the Evil No bump.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not a fan of the Battle Royal concept anyway. I mean, it's a really good way to get a really big roster, a paycheck, and get the guys in the ring to do. But by the end of it, I think you turned to me and said, I actually like that Battle Royal. And I have to agree.
Yeah, it was very good for a Battle Royal for certain. And the next match could have been, in my opinion, maybe the sleeper match of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had your women's title match, Doug. The champion, Hikaru Shida, successfessly defending against Ryo Mitsunami.
Thank you. Yes. I just wrote it down as Ryo. Not to be confused with Ryo.
Exactly.
Our first AEW Women's Champion.
But these women hit hard, and I think that if you're not a fan of Japanese strong style, or familiar with, obviously at this point you're going to be familiar with Shida, but maybe not so much Mitsunami. These women hit hard. I mean, there's not much more to say about this other than this is a match you should go out of your way to check out.
And you'll see a lot of hard hits and a lot of selling, and I'm not sure how much selling is being done. I think these gals needed some time to legit recover from some of these hard hits they were giving each other. But I mean, overall, my only note on this, great match.
Yes, wonderful near falls, hard hitting.
Yeah.
Honestly, might be the match of the night if you want to just go on pure work rate.
Yeah. But nobody works harder, Kevin, but we'll get to him in a second.
Next up, we have more of a come down match.
Yeah, definitely come down match. Yeah,
you got Kip Sabian and Miro going over Chucky T and Orange Cassidy.
Yep.
Quick color. There was some quick color in this match with the Kentucky Gentleman coming up on, I don't know that it wasn't the hard way because he was bleeding from a place you would not normally bleed. He was bleeding from his forearm, and I think he legitimately cut himself.
Yeah, because, and that happened before the match started because you have the heels attacking our baby faces prior to the match to get things rolling. So, but in the end, I've got my notes here, how Miro wins, Chucky T tapping. Fun match.
There was a really stiff kick that I made a note of, a roundhouse that Miro connected to Chucky T's face that just looked brutal and stiff. And I think that this is another one where to me, maybe the story is more not the outcome of the match than what happens next, because Miro, in order to secure the victory, pretty much sacrificed, Kip Sabian into, well, actually not Kip, but one of the opponents into Penelope.
Orange into Penelope. Yeah. Penelope off for, and Sabian's working her. Realized that Miro's not the legal man, so he has to get Sabian to come up and give him the tag so he can go ahead and get the win. But yeah,
I'm hoping that his lack of well-being for
just lack of care there.
I hope that is a sign that maybe we're getting ready to see singles run by Miro, because I'm not really crazy about him in this tag team.
I think the best man is ready to be the only man.
I hope that's where this leads to. Inoffensive match, not a whole lot to it, but fun enough, and I think storyline-wise might get us to where we need to go with that character.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. We have a big money match next?
Big money match.
Big money.
And literally big money match, because the winner of this one gets the first quarter.
That's right.
First
quarter earnings
of the other gentleman. You had Matt Hardy against Hangman Adam Page. I don't think we're surprised who wins this one, are we?
No, not at all. Not at all. Of course, you brought up an interesting point with Hangman, pulling out the win here. Does he also now get private parties 30% that Matt Hardy is bringing in now?
They didn't mention that on commentary, but that could be a storyline plot point moving forward that, hey, that earnings means 30% of your guys' earnings too. So we might have a big money Hangman Adam Page running around.
Big money Hangman.
There was some odd botting in this match. Matt Hardy started with a very much a botting strategy, which I guess it was unique enough that
sure. We're talking about it, so
yeah. But he began to work the fingers, work the hands with some botting. The right winner. This was definitely the right outcome. Not really much from the match itself from a work rate standpoint. If you're just going to grade these matches clearly on work rate and not on storyline advancement and things, this may have been the least successful contest of the night. But not enough to dissuade anybody from checking out this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I get a little slow. And let's not forget the run-ins.
That's true.
We had our share of run-ins there at the end, but
also could have been anticipated, right?
Absolutely. You're going to see Private Party pop up, and of course, the Dark Order. I almost called them the Evil Order.
There was that cool spot where they did do the trust fall, helping the Hangman,
catching Hangman. Great, a little slow, but a fun ending, and it'll advance the storyline. So now we've got pretty much just craziness from this point on. I think.
Yes, this is when things really start to pick up, and it gets a little dangerous.
Yes, it does. We had the ladder match up next.
And I must say, before we talk about the ladder match, is that this was a ladder match where you weren't going for a contract, you weren't going for a title, you were going for the gold ring. The brass ring. The brass ring. Reaching for the brass ring, which... Okay, it looked ridiculous. If I have to be perfectly honest, this thing was huge. They were going for a brass
it looked
flotation device of some sort.
Somebody on Twitter, I was reading while the match was going on, referred to 6 guys risking their lives for a I forgot what they're called, the donuts the hemorrhoid donut things that you sat on. Basically a golden hemorrhoid donut thing to set on.
Well,
which is kind of what it looked like.
Scorpio Sky should now have help with his hemorrhoids, because he walked away with the medical device.
And speaking of walking away, could Cody Rhodes not have just walked away? Because we get an injury from Cody early on, and I told Kevin going into this, I'm pretty sure that 2 things we're going to see tonight. Cody be written off TV because of his crazy injuries for this. Same thing with Moxley later on tonight, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, the contestants in this match, we should mention that we got Penta.
Oh, yeah,
we got Cody. We got the eventual winner, Scorpio Sky. We got the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer. We got Max Caster. And then our surprise entrant, which would be the first person, I guess, that is the surprise of the night, not the big reveal that they're doing later.
2 different things.
But honestly, I think this one has a long-term.
Absolutely.
Maybe more long-term, this is going to be the bigger signing, but hardcore fans, if you watch a little bit of everything and you are a fan of Impact Wrestling, you are certainly a fan of Ethan Page, a member of the North for the last several years, one of the most successful tag teams. Actually, they were one of my picks for tag teams of the year in our year-end award show.
Yep.
And Ethan Page is now All Elite.
Yep, that's Ethan Page is All Elite.
And actually had a really strong showing in this ladder match.
Everybody in this ladder match had a really strong showing. Even Cody and his injury spot early on in the match, but he's escorted off. But it was very distracting for me. It kept pulling me away from the match because the hard camera that's on the ring where you can see everything, you can also see the ramps. And Cody's just kind of pacing the ramp. A little set down. He's got Arn and people from the Nightmare family there. You've got Doc Sampson there. Occasionally look like they're trying to walk him on back. Then he comes pacing back. So it totally telegraphs the return of Cody to the match at some point, which eventually did happen. Of course.
At first, Doug and I are looking at each other, and I thought, man,
yeah,
I think he's legit hurt.
Kudos, Cody.
It looked really good the way they were selling it, and then they oversold it by keeping him in the frame where it kind of gave away like they had a really good acting job there that they spoiled by the direction.
Yeah.
But overall, fun ladder match. As with, again, like the Battle Royal, when you have a lot of people in a multi-person match, there's going to be some clunky spots. And I know at the beginning we said definitely thumbs up, but there was, and it should be noted if we're being honest about like positives and negatives, there was a significant number of blown spots tonight or ridiculous looking spots. In this match, Lance Archer got himself wedged between, well, not really wedged because the ladder didn't really close. He just got himself in position, and because they waited so long to drop their bodies down on to the ladder, Lance sat there waiting to take this bump for a ridiculous amount of time.
And I'm pretty sure you could see the frustration on his face because he
come on.
He knew what a fool he was just looking like, just sitting there waiting for the spot to happen.
Yeah, he might have ripped into somebody backstage at the end. Right. You don't want to make that man mad. He's huge.
No. But overall, excellent match. Great for Scorpio Sky because I think Scorpio is money and can be money in AEW.
There was a sick destroyer spot onto the ladder too that just was brutal, and a Max Caster counter on top of the ladder where he managed to get out of predicament by kissing Penta's hands. He began kissing Penta's hands, and it really wasn't followed up on.
I'm not sure if that's like some sort of old school gold dust move to just throw the opponent off.
It certainly threw us off.
Or if he was actually supposed to be biting, but it legit looked like he was kissing his hand. I don't know what that was.
I have to say that not only was the match enjoyable, if you'd asked me beforehand who has the best shots of winning, I don't know that Scorpio Sky would have been in my top 2 or 3, but I really like the choice because I think that he's someone that doesn't get the credit that he deserves.
Absolutely. I really thought with Death Triangle winning earlier that we could see Penta actually come out on top here and maybe start the belt collectors gimmick with Death Triangle too coming out of this.
And I could have seen the Lance Archer just destroying everybody else, or even giving the rub to the new guy and letting Ethan come in with a big
strap a rocket to him and send him to the moon.
And speaking of big debuts,
big debuts.
That's what we had next up, and they had been teasing it for since Dynamite this past week that they were having a Hall of Fame level signing, and so there's been a lot of speculation these last 3 or 4 days. Is it CM Punk? Is it Batista? Is it the person that ended up being, Doug, was someone that was rumored, and then that rumor was shot down because we thought he was locked up under contract. We've been swerved.
We have totally been swerved, and it's not Isaiah Swerve Scott.
No, but that would have been really cool.
But Christian Cage, if you remember from his Impact days, Christian, who was just recently in the Royal Rumble, to reunite with former tag team partner Edge.
After being off of the air for many years as a performer, had made a physical transformation, got medical clearance, has returned, and was... I don't know that it was rumored. I thought they pretty much announced that he wasn't just back for a nostalgia pop in the Rumble, that he was under contract. It was going to wrestle occasional matches and train folks perhaps down at the Performance Center.
Yeah, but he's not going to be. Maybe he's training at the Nightmare Factory instead. In any event, Christian is now All Elite.
So either he has worked us all these months by pretending to be under contract, or they found a loophole in his contract that allowed him to get out of it, I'm sure there's going to be a follow-up these next few days, people digging into this story as to how exactly they managed to pull this off. But you won't be seeing it, Edge and Christian show season 3 on the WWE Network anytime soon.
This is true. So,
and I like the continuity. I did make a note of this. We have this alliance between AEW and Impact. And outside of WWE, which of course is where he earned most of his reputation, he had a pretty significant run.
And he was indeed Christian Cage.
He was Christian Cage in Impact, a world champion in Impact. More, actually a more meaningful championship reign in Impact than he had the cup of coffee that he got with that belt in WWE. So, there's continuity there as well. Yes. If they want to go and move him back and forth.
That's true. That's very, very true.
So actually, overall, I mean, would you say that was significant enough? You said right before he came out, he's like, this is going to go 2 ways.
2 ways. This can go either really good or really bad, where they bring out Ryback or something like that.
You're not going to get an in between. You're going to either get tons of internet hate, or everyone's going to okay, there's some gas in the tank there. That's a big signing. It was right to make a big deal about it. I think that's what they got.
This. I mean, it's not a CM Punk or Batista, but it's up there. I mean, Christian Cage is
all elite. And next, Doug, we had.
What we had next was AEW Underground is what we had next.
I think it was our last show where we were talking about, the pandemic and all the changes that have happened in wrestling and the things we were right and wrong about that we predicted a year ago. And we were happy. We said this last Sunday that we were happy that we were wrong, that cinematic matches would be around to stay. And boom, they hit us up with a cinematic match tonight.
Yeah, they did.
And it was about as enjoyable as any of these things are at this point. Sting and Darby Allin do pick up the win against Absolute Ricky Starks and Brian Cage, but it was the ride along at the beginning where they started out in daylight and apparently drove so far.
I have no idea where Brian Cage and Ricky Stark started this drive from, but by the time they got there, it looks like they get in the car at noon. And of course, Cage is driving this tiny little sports car. He was already in there when Starks comes out and hops in the car. But by midnight or so, they got to their destination, which of course Sting and Darby Allin weren't there. Yeah.
Well, no, because Sting had to drive as well, and apparently Sting has a tape deck.
his old beat
up Toyota.
And it took a while for Darby Allin to get there too, because he was on a skateboard
until he grabbed to the back of Sting's truck.
A little Back to the Future shout out there.
And if you didn't see the show and you're thinking, man, that sounds cheesy, yep, you're absolutely right. It was.
And then there were like the Sting druids. I guess Sting has druids like the Undertaker now.
That's true. And obviously, much like the Undertaker, I'm glad you made the reference, because this was Sting's Boneyard match. This
definitely was Sting's Boneyard
match.
match.
Haven't wrestled in a while. The last time you wrestled, you got injured and were thought to be seriously injured, and your career was over. And so we're protecting you by having a cinematic. So this was the Sting Boneyard match is what this was.
I figured this match would have Sting protected where it was a tag match, and the other 3 guys would do a lot of the heavy lifting. And
Brian Cage literally did the heavy lifting.
Yes.
I mean, if there was one thing that I thought was impressive about this is that, the man is a physical specimen anyway. And at one point he did have Darby Allin, who, granted, is very light, still a grown man, got him in a suplex position and walked him
up steps,
up a flight of stairs. So, that was
not just around the ring like an old school Goldberg, spear, then before the jackhammer walk around. He just chucked him up some steps. Yeah, and I don't mean chucked him up by tossing him. He actually walked him up a flight of steps.
That would have been the highlight of this match for me, because everything else was kind of low lights. And if there's one match I would recommend skipping, you maybe fast forward through this contest, because unless you're a big cinematic wrestling fan
or a big Sting fan,
because
you get to see Sting get the win.
That's true. So, with the baseball bat and all the classic spots you'd hope for from Sting. So hopefully this is the last cinematic match that we have to talk about for a while, because that window pane spot was pretty cheesy looking. Well, there was a lot of pretty cheesy looking ways that this was filmed, but that could not have contrasted more.
I don't even have any notes for this barbed wire death exploding bloodbath.
So we have a world title match that is your main event, and obviously the death match is a thing in Japan. and has been for a while as an underground phenomenon. It's not anything that you see a whole lot in the United States. And in fact, I don't know that to this extent you've ever seen a major promotion, not some underground in the, CZW kind of like hardcore promotion or an ECW, hardcore promotion. This is a major promotion in their main event, basically promoting a death match for their world title. So there was a lot to say about this, both good and bad. I will just note that this is not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
And I do want to touch on that. Something that AEW is great about, because AEW fanboy here. So before I dog them, I'm going to give them some love, because I'm not a fan of battle royals. We had a battle royal, which was a really great battle royal, and I'm definitely not a fan of this hardcore type wrestling, especially with a wrestler the caliber of Kenny Omega. I've seen what he can do in New Japan. Jon Moxley as Dean Ambrose clearly was under the thumb of WWE, because since he's came to AEW, this has been his thing. These hardcore, these ultra violent matches. Same thing in Japan with what he's done there. So clearly, this is what he's been wanting to do for a really long time. I'm not going to say I didn't like this match, because I totally did. Shivani, my God, Shivani was just on game tonight.
Yeah,
though.
He was. He really added to the whole presentation of this. There was a lot of tease at the beginning, which is what you should have in these, where guys come really close to touching the barbed wire, really close to touching the explosive implements in the match. And once they finally started with letting this stuff happen, it was a mix, to be quite honest. There was a couple. The very first explosion didn't look great.
No, it didn't.
But then the few after that,
each one after that, I mean, it really picked up the game. It looked really good. There were spots that these two men took. My goodness, I hope they get big bonuses.
There was some blading. There was some a lot of blood, a ton of blood, which again, not something you're going to see a lot in American wrestling, particularly when WWE has become more sanitized to that sort of thing. This is going the complete opposite direction. So again, it is not everyone's cup of tea, but if you are like me, who, I like different flavors of ice cream, I might have my favorite I want to pick most of the time, but every now and then the change is good. You cannot do this. I'm not a big fan of like complete hardcore promotions.
Right.
So you couldn't have this on every pay-per-view and have it mean something, because people get desensitized. If you make it a rare thing, and in storyline wise, these two have a history that dates back to almost the beginning of AEW, and it's been violent, and it's been a blood feud and hatred, and not just I want to win, I want to prove I'm the best. They storyline wise hate each other, and so this was kind of a good blow off for that. Whether or not you like the style of wrestling, for the style of wrestling it was, they did a good job with it. Other than a few, missed spots and missed pyro spots, it was barbaric, and that's exactly as it was designed. I think the most barbaric spots really wasn't the explosions and all that they overhyped, probably, but the barbed wire itself, where they went into the tables wrapped in barbed wire and the chair wrapped in barbed wire. They did a good job protecting the One Wing Angel. They had a One Wing Angel spot, and no one's ever kicked out of it. And no one still kicked out of it, even though it didn't lead to a pinfall. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure, because, and Callis did kind of telegraph this, because he's like, One Wing Angel, nobody's ever kicked out of this. And I'm like, my God, Moxley's going to kick out of this, just because Don Callis did that right as Kenny was hitting the One Wing Angel. However, Moxley does get out of the pin, not by kicking out of the One Wing Angel, but by putting a foot up on. I just did the motion there. You can't. Oh, wait, maybe you can. There we go.
Yes. Don't blow us up. Don't blow us up.
But he puts his foot on the ring ropes, which are attached to the barbed wire, which are attached to the explosives. By hitting the barbed wire and the explosives, of course, the explosives go off, which breaks the pin. So he didn't kick out of it, but he was able to set off explosives.
I would say
sounds ridiculous.
And that's part of why when you say that Tony was on, like in this match, it's like folks, it's only 15 more minutes till the whole ring explodes. And you're sitting there like, we're watching a match, and they're basically saying in 15 minutes, we're all going to die. Because it was over the top in some ways. The violence was really good and brutal and appropriate for this type of match. Again,
appropriate for this type of match.
You may or may not like that, but it was what it was, done well. The added implements of the gimmicks of the explosions were very much hit or miss, and at times looked really bad, to be honest.
Yeah, and you know,
because the winner, we didn't even say who won.
Oh yeah, let's get to the win. We have, of course, if you thought the Good Brothers were not going to show up in this match, have you ever seen any wrestling? Come on.
They showed up, all right.
The Good Brothers showed up. There were shenanigans. We had an exploding barbed wire baseball bat.
Took it to the face, and it just blew up in Moxley's face. That looked good. That explosion looked good. And then that led to the second one-wing angel that ended up being the final one-wing angel onto a chair, which was brutal because of the way this chair was set up. Moxley is definitely going into paternity leave, really hurting. But then they decided that it wasn't enough just to get the win, because apparently there is no fail-safe.
No fail-safe. At 30 minutes, the ring explodes no matter what. So the Good Brothers, along with while Kenny's yelling at a camera and Callis is on the mic with commentary talking trash, Good Brothers give Moxley a decent beatdown and handcuff him. Not do anything in the ring, but just handcuff him with hands behind the back. Kenny eventually jumps in and they complete the beatdown as a timer on their it's not a Titantron, is it a Tonytron? I don't know what you call it.
Tonytron counts down. The sirens go off. Everyone runs out of the ring. Moxley is left to die
because the ring is going to explode.
Yeah, WWE killed someone in their ring. You know, the Fiend was burned alive.
Right.
So I will see your one death, and I will up you to 2 deaths, says AEW, because we didn't just kill John Moxley.
We blew him up.
We killed Eddie Kingston.
However, let's talk about this. So, I think it was telegraphed a few weeks ago that, we're eventually going to see a Moxley Kingston, make up and probably a tag team on the other side of this. Probably when he returns from his paternity leave, because he's clearly going to be out for a while since he was just blown up.
Yeah.
But Kingston being, the friend that he is, lifelong friend of Moxley, even despite everything that they've been through, comes out to help. We have folks from, I think the Butcher was out there trying to stop him from going in. He eventually breaks free, gets in the ring, realizes he cannot get his lifelong friend out of the ring, despite the differences they've had lately. So he does what any good brother does. He just covers him and tries to protect him as the ring explodes. Thing is,
explode.
Kane's pyro in his intro was more pyro than this. It looked like smoke shot out of all 4 corners. I think some firecrackers
we had some sparklers.
So,
there were sparklers in each 4 corners, while these 2 men were in the center of the ring.
Yes.
Completely away from any of the... I don't know if there was some explosions that didn't go off. That they expected everything they had rigged up, the ring ropes, the barbed wire ring ropes and all that. Maybe the whole thing was, that's what I was expecting. And instead you just got pyro out of the 4 corners and maybe a little smoke around ringside, and poor Eddie Kingston and John Moxley had to lay there like they just been killed.
So
and people start booing.
People in Daly's place were booing this. Now, at this point, I expected maybe Callis to come back out, grab a mic, and start ranting about, because there's been a big deal made about how he and Kenny orchestrated this whole thing. They built it and everything, and this was just one final jab to Moxley that we're not going to let you die. Joke's on you, you fools. And then Eddie Kingston thing is just an added bonus. Look at you. You ran out here, and what are you doing with your friend there? What are you laying on top of him for? That didn't happen. Like Kevin said, poor Eddie Kingston had to lay there like he'd just blown up. John Moxley had to lay there. I told Kevin, I think they've just rolled Eddie Kingston over because he's legitimately died of embarrassment at this.
And I don't want this to sound like we hated the match, because like I said, we liked the match.
I liked the match.
The post match took away from the match. It didn't cancel out the brutal a spectacle that these men put on.
No,
this
was a very brutal, very the things these two guys did to their bodies tonight to entertain old grumpy marks like me and Kevin and everybody out there that watched it. Amazing. Kudos to them. The pyro, like Kevin said, maybe something didn't go off. Maybe Callis can still swing back around and make fun of Eddie Kingston and start another feud and just laugh this off as look what you fools thought we were actually going to blow somebody, actually going to kill somebody in the ring. I mean, they could take a jab at WWE
exactly
this. I mean,
do you think we want to burn you?
Right? I mean, they can still salvage what happened there, but
maybe just overly gimmicked there at the end. But outside of that, bit of booking. I mean, right man retains, the right guy gets to go home and play dad now once he heals up from this ridiculousness, and hopefully no one suffered any major injuries tonight. But definitely, a show that had a bit of everything, a bit of mixed bag, a bit of nostalgia, a bit of surprises, a bit of brutality, a bit of hard work rate, high flying, hard hitting with the women's match, striking style. So whatever style of wrestling you like, it was presented tonight.
I've got to say, I think those women hit harder than some of that pyro did.
Absolutely, absolutely, and harder than anything that Sting had to take in the cinematic contest. So,
absolutely.
But still, check it out, folks. There's a lot here to recommend.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. But folks, it's late. We have day jobs, so
that start later on today.
today.
But thanks for staying up with us, and join us next week at a more normal time when we're back at 8 o'clock to preview the next pay-per-view, and that's WWE's Fastlane.
Is it going to be on Peacock?
It's going to be on Peacock and the WWE Network, which is a show we're also going to have for you later on this month, a special on Peacock and what it means for the WWE Network and you and your subscription. So you want to check that one out.
I need to know this because I'm so confused what's going on with Peacock, and I hope we can shed some light on all that. But until the next time, folks, I'm Doug. That's Kevin. I almost said I'm Kevin too.
Sorry, and we're in the same room.
We're in the same room.
It's going to blow, Doug. We got a couple of minutes. We better get off of here. This whole thing's going up.
No, the sparklers. Good night, everybody. Be safe. Take care of each other.